Welcome to the Big Fat Real Estate Checks podcast with Marco Kozlowski, where we help investors like you get the knowledge and skills you need to replace your JOB with passive cash flow for life.
Hey everyone, welcome to Big Fat Real Estate Checks. My name is Marco Kozlowski, and I'm here with Gabriel Araish is in his and I'm always excited to do something weird at the beginning of the podcast and do something not so weird by giving you as much value as possible. Not just myself, of course, my compadre Gabriel as well. And Frank, our third musketeer, is unusually not here today. He has some family celebrations, and good on him and his family. And he has to keep that private, and we will. But his family is celebrating. So whoop, whoop to Frank. And with that, we're going to be, before I tell you what the topic is today, please make sure that you've listened to at least the first 10 episodes that explains asset-based lending, how we're able to step into deal creation. We create deals with skill, not needing money, since through skill sets you can really reduce the asset's price tag, allowing us to get in with absolutely no money whatsoever, because the equity we bring to the table through the skill sets that you develop allow you to not need any money. In fact, get paid at closing and buy as many cash flowing assets as you choose, as long as you follow process. And there are some skill sets that are needed, and we're going to discuss some of those today with Gabe. And and you as a listener, if you of course love this, please like us, love us, share us, subscribe, give us feedback, tell us everything you want to tell us, as long as it's polite, of course, because our feelings get hurt very, very easily. We're very fragile, as you probably might have gathered, or not. And so today we're going to be discussing. What are we discussing, Gabe? Today, what's the topic du jour?
The topic du jour is aim for progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And we're going to talk about perfectionism, how that is actually a form of
procrastination.
Procrastination. I was procrastinating on me saying it. Thank you for that. And and you can never really get perfect doing anything unless you start practicing. And something that we really see a lot are people that are addicted to information, where they need one more thing in order to get started, need one more thing. They're getting ready to get ready. Months, years go by, and nothing really happens. Don't pull the trigger, and then they either give up or start shitting on themselves because they're not doing what they should be doing. And it creates a perpetual loop of despair, which is not very healthy.
Well, so the chase for perfection is like a chase for the horizon, right? I mean, perfection is never really achieved. I don't think that's even possible to a certain extent. I mean, you go back to Da Vinci, who used to say that, I think he once said that a work of art is never finished but merely abandoned, because it can always get better. It's just that you have to stop at one point. So
that's a great saying.
It is.
I've never heard that until today, so I learned something today.
It was Da Vinci, it was an Araish, but I can't take credit for it, but it does make sense, especially with today's topic. So
absolutely, that's very true. And related to real estate and buying cash flowing assets, I work with a lot of people. I just had a 3-day event, and I do with my mentorship students. We do I think 6 to 9 different classes in a week. Right now I think at 9 or 10 classes that are super intensive, where I'm really pushing people along to get results as quickly as possible. And it's surprising how little some do, and how much others do. And the ones that don't do a whole lot are the ones that are really questioning the most, because they're really needing to wrap things up within themselves in order to actually pull the trigger. And that's something that you really should stay away from. Just get started, just go, launch, make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. In fact, mistakes are part of growth. We're going to have an episode shortly on celebrating not only wins, but the mistakes themselves as well. They're both to be celebrated. In school, when you didn't have the answer, you were chastised. You were held back. It was bad. You had to know the answer. And that programming in business doesn't work, because everything that you have is at least a 9.0 version of. Even your phone, any phone that you have, it's not the first generation. You look at the first generation, it was not that perfect, but it went to market. Everything goes to market, not perfect. As perfect as it can be, as you said, it's abandoned for now and progress later based on feedback that we get. So really important to just get fucking started. We have a saying within the community, FSI, which means fucking send it out. Right? Yeah. So I don't know if you have any value add to that, Gabe. I know you do, but the paralysis through analysis is going to get you, period. And time it waits for no one.
It is, and I mean, small wins are the progress, and if you just do something consistently, eventually you'll just keep getting better at it. And the best example I have, which is very concrete, is so it's no secret that we moved from Montreal to Florida recently, and this is, call it 6 months ago. And my son, who went to French school in Montreal, would use French 90% of the time, very little English. Actually only used English. Actually, he didn't even use English. I would use English to help him. So he would listen, so he understood. But speaking English was something that he had difficulty with. And now that he's in Florida, where, speaking French is going to get him nowhere, had no choice to start using his English. And you can see the progression in 6 months. It's night and day in terms of his usage. And that's you can even think that, okay, it's just because he's still young and that's normal. But no, I mean, there's every one of us knows someone who decided to either change country or go study abroad for 3 months, 4 months, and had no choice to speak that language, and would come back and don't necessarily have the right accent, but would have a pretty fluent communication in that foreign language, because at the end of the day, you have no choice. You're using it every single day. You're going to get better at it. So it's the same thing with anything you do, whether it's a sport, whether it's business, whether it's a real estate process. It's all going to be the same. The more you do, the more you're going to get out of it, and the better you're going to get.
And the less your ego is involved in stopping the progress, because you're getting a lot of us get mad at ourselves when we don't get it right away, or we don't understand right away, or I'm sure when you moved down, you didn't know where anything was, and now you know where a lot of things are that you didn't know before.
Correct,
right?
Yeah.
And it's always scary doing something new, but you just go. Either you stay in your house and starve, or you go to the grocery store, or you go to school. In fact, I know William is probably going to learn Spanish before he learns English, super well, which is great, because being multilingual is very important. And, again, even playing an instrument, my background is in music. I was a concert pianist, and, I practiced constantly. And I didn't practice what I did well. I practiced what I did poorly. And it was exciting to get through a piece. And some of these concertos are, 30 minutes long. If I played the whole thing 4 times, the day's over. So really, pretty much almost, right? And so I focused on what I didn't do well, and was excited because I was progressing in the whole process, because I couldn't play it from beginning to end well. And just by focusing on the things I didn't do well, suddenly I was able to play the whole thing well. So really focus on what you don't do well, versus what people generally like to do is, I'm just going to do what I'm good at. And it really stops your growth. And I'm not, we can have a whole discussion on getting the right who's in your business. I think we've had a topic on that, on things that you're not necessarily skilled at or don't know how to do to outsource. But procrastinating in that, it's in the general development of what you want to do is cancerous. You have to just go and be okay with not doing it perfect. And as you get going, you'll see where the opportunities are to really shine.
You have to be careful too, because when you're in the process of doing something and you want to progress and get better at it, you learn from your mistakes a lot, but sometimes you don't know when something's a mistake. And this is why it's important to have kind of an outside view to this, because the last thing you want is to be practicing a mistake or an error, because then you'll get really good at doing that. And this is, for me, I remember when I started, practicing golf, I wanted to start golf. This is years ago. And I said, you know what, I got to go take lessons. And so that was the first thing I did, because it's a reflex for me to go get coaching before I do something. And my swing became naturally good because I learned the right way from the get-go. And then I stopped going, and I started weakening my swing, and I kept making the same mistakes over and over. And then one of my friends, who was a golf pro, saw me, and he's like, why are you doing this? I go, because it works. Well, yeah, but it works for me because I've been constantly practicing the same mistake. But had I practiced the right thing, I would be doing 4 or 5 times better. And so it's important when you're progressing that you also have, someone who's watching out for you, or just having an outside view of what you're doing to make sure that you are indeed progressing the correct way. Because, if you practice even a language and you're using, you're welcome to say thank you every single time, you're going to get really good at saying you're welcome, but you're going to get really good at saying it the wrong time. So it's the same thing with anything you do. So progress is important, and practicing or continuous action in order to progress is great. Just you have to make sure that you're practicing the correct things.
And knowing the matrix, yeah. And if you're saying incorrect words, you just go to the library and you get it taken care of. But having the right matrix, for example, we have multiple steps in our process. The first one is marketing or an opener, and we know that we have to get at least a 30% response on our opener, and our objective is to get at least a 30% response or better. If you don't, then we fix the opener, and everyone that's in the program knows exactly what it needs to be done to have that happen. So every single step has objectives to them with a matrix of what you should get, so you can measure and practice what needs to be done. So yes, you're absolutely right, Gabe, and nailed it more than on the head, like dead center, in that you do have to get out of the gate and do something, which is vital and better than doing nothing. But the even better than that is, so if I was given a choice of doing nothing or doing something, I would do something. But in order to do it best and really full time is to have someone giving you what needs to be done in the right direction. And even better than that is to elevate that to the most. At least you picked up the golf club and started swinging. Mm-hmm. But had you had that extra coaching, you would have been a lot better, a lot faster. And now you have to unlearn the things that you've learned,
which is harder,
much harder.
Yeah.
Much harder.
Which is like the programming we get as growing up with our parents or whatever backgrounds we have, and then you figure out that you've been doing it wrong and have to unprogram it. This is why change is difficult, and it's normal that it's difficult. I think this is where you need to make that choice, and that you need to want it enough to make that change. But once you do, and you practice correctly and with the right people around you, it's only a matter of time. It's not an if, it's a when that you'll be successful.
So to wrap this up, the top 2 things that the listener should do to stop procrastination.
Well, the first thing is don't aim for perfection. Just aim to get started, and because just getting started is progress over what you're already doing, which is nothing. So that's already a great step. But don't aim for perfection. Just keep going for those small wins, if you will. Yep. And the second thing is well, I guess I said 3 things in there, but really just get started and keep progressing, and small wins.
And get help on someone that's, if you really want to full time and really kill your perfectionism, is if I had one piece of advice to give myself, because I've suffered from this many times myself, is be okay with making mistakes and celebrate those mistakes as they happen, because that's actually perfection in itself, because you're giving yourself the opportunity to grow from those mistakes. And whatever you do, it's the worst it's ever going to be. And you have to practice towards, and also know your end goal and your objective. I think our next podcast is on objectives. Mm-hmm. You have to be clear on what your mini objective is, on the action that you're doing now, and the greater objective, the greater goal, to see if you're actually moving towards that goal or away from that goal. Or if your goal is to go north, but you're going south, you got to course correct. You're perfectly moving in a direction, just in the wrong direction, and it's going to take more time to get into the right direction. You have to double back. But getting started is better than doing nothing. Correct. For sure.
That's for sure.
At least you're changing something. So hopefully that was helpful, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Gabriel, thank you again for your input. And listener, like us, love us, share us on your social. Give us a review if you kindly could. We're going to inching slowly towards 2,000 5-star reviews. We'd love to have you part of that and welcome your feedback. Please email us at marco@marcokozlowski.com on any topics that you want us to discuss. Always excited to hear about new topics. And if you have a story to share or an experience on perfectionism or perfectionism, or anything that we are discussing on any podcast whatsoever, please let us know, as we're going to be doing a podcast on the feedback that we do get and some stories to share. And I know that you have a good one for sure. And we're excited to hear about that. So take one thing that you learned today or one aha moment and apply it. And if you do one small thing every day to improve yourself as a human being and or in business or in communication, you're ahead of the game, because progress is vital, not perfection. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Bye for now. Frank, we miss you.
If you like this episode of Big Fat Real Estate Checks, then show some love by leaving a comment and a good rating. Also, as a thank you for tuning in today, we've got a special free gift. The journey to passive cash flow for life starts by finding deals, and it's easier than you think. Simply go to getdealsbytuesday.com, enter your email address, and we'll send you a free quick start course called Deals by Tuesday. Even if it's 11 p.m. Monday night, this course will show you how to find discounted real estate deals by Tuesday. It's that fast and simple. Go to getdealsbytuesday.com and start your journey toward life-changing cash flow today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.